Hello and welcome to today's video. So this is actually going to be a really quick one. In November I read 13 books, which was a total of 3,540 pages. I read a lot of books. Unfortunately I didn't have a great time with them. Yeah, I mean a lot of them were mediocre, they were fine, but I feel like, you know, it's December 1st as I'm filming this. Hopefully it's December 1st as you're seeing this. Yeah, I'm really ready to have another, like, you know, 4.5 book. That's what I need now. It's been too long. I haven't had one since like the start of October, so I'm just ready. I'm ready for another like amazing book that keeps me thinking and keeps me in that world. So yes, let's get into the books I read this month. Here are 12 of them, and then there was also one that I read just as an audiobook that was available on Script. I am going to go through this in the order I read them, pretty much, but I'm going to group them together because a lot of these are very easy to group together. And the second lot of books I'm going to talk about, there's 9 from the same series, so that's why it's going to go so quickly, because I'm not going to have a lot different to say for each of them. So first up this month I read The Spanish Love Deception, followed by The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I did this for a vlog where I tried popular TikTok books. I will link it up above. Yeah, I gave this 2 stars, which, the more I think about it, the more generous that was. Honestly, I had a dreadful time with this. I don't know why I made myself push through it. This book is the book that has made me realise in the new year I'm going to go through my red shelves and see if there's anyone I want to get rid of, because I don't care about keeping this at all. And, you know, there's probably more on there that I don't care about keeping. So yeah, this has spurred that on, so that will be happening sometime in the new year. I gave it 2 stars. It was dreadful. I'm not a romance reader, I will say that. If you are super into romance, maybe this is alright. I still don't think it'd be amazing, but maybe it's alright. I rant a lot about it in the vlog that I made, so I will link that, but I hated both these characters, especially the main female character, Elena. That's not even her name, that's how much I'm trying to repress this. Her name's Lena. Okay. Yeah, she was stupid, she was rude. The way that she acts in the first few chapters of this book, I don't understand how that can be forgiven. You know, she's just really rude and she treats people very disrespectfully. And for some reason that's glanced over, because at the time she didn't think she liked him, even though she had a secret crush on him. I don't know. I don't care. It was shit. Don't recommend it. And then I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This was alright. I gave it 3.5 stars. There was components of it that I really enjoyed. There were things in it that I did find interesting and did keep me hooked. I read this really quickly. It was definitely one where it was easy to read, but I couldn't give it more than that. It wasn't just the fact that it didn't live up to the hype, because honestly it didn't. I won't go into this with amazing expectations, and I didn't, because I read Daisy Jones and the Six by the same author and didn't enjoy that one at all. So I feel like I had quite realistic expectations going into this. I still expected it to do more and be more and have more of a voice, and honestly it was just disappointing. Like, the only way I can describe this was disappointing, even though I wasn't expecting loads going into it. I don't think it's a bad story, I don't think it's a bad book, I think it was written quite well. The subject of the book is Evelyn Hugo, but the reporter who is like doing this piece on her, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, is Monique Grant, and her as a character I couldn't deal with. She was very like pitying, very self-loathing, didn't hold herself in very high esteem, and everything going through her head, everything going on, I just didn't care about. And it really, for me, her character in the book negated from the main story of the book, and I wasn't a fan. And I also didn't care about the twist. I mean, like, it's not a super big twist or anything, but at one point in the book something is said that makes you think before the end of the book something big is going to happen. It didn't. So yeah, those were the first 2 books of the month. Then next up I read books 2 to 10 of the Demonata series. I'd already read book 1 in October, I just didn't get round to the rest. So yeah, during November I read books 2 to 10. This was a reread for me, I think. It wasn't until the very last book that I didn't remember anything. I have definitely read all of these before. This is a pain in the arse to hold up, so I'm going to do this very quickly. I didn't enjoy this. There were books that I liked more than others. I quite liked Demon Thief. I think I quite liked Blood Beast. I think that's the one that ended on a cliffhanger. Like, there were some that were alright. They were decent. None of them got more than 3.5 stars, and throughout the entire series, not just like 2 to 10 but 1 to 10, All of the ratings for them ranged between 3.5 and 1.5 stars. And I wasn't rating super harshly because this series isn't aimed at me, it is a younger series. But yeah, there were just so many points. And honestly, if you are thinking of reading this series, I would even consider just not reading book 10 or not reading the end of book 10 and just making up your own ending, because I honestly, after reading it all, I'm like, what was the point? What was the point? And that's not how you should go away from a series ending. It definitely makes me rethink my ratings as well. Like after book 10, I'm rethinking my ratings for the rest of them because they just seem pointless. It wasn't this trope, but the way book 10 made me feel was similar to the way where like you read or you watch a big thing, a big like explosive scene or something, and then the character wakes up. It was that sort of like, oh, okay, that's what we're doing. Like that wasn't the trope, but it was the same feeling that I got from it. So I wasn't having a great time reading those books, and during the middle of reading those, I picked up the audiobook for XOXO. I'll put a little image in here. This was fun. It was alright. It was a bit of fun, and I had a decent time with it. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It wasn't amazing. However, a lot of the things that I feel like potentially made this book special aren't things that are important to me. A major thing throughout this book was music. A major thing throughout the book was K-pop specifically. And a major thing throughout the book was fandom specifically, I would say. And like none of those things appeal to me, but I still had a fun time reading this book. So for me, like I think it was pretty good. Like I had a good time. I would definitely recommend it, especially if you are a fan of like music, K-pop, fandoms. I think it would be even more appealing, because you know, like those things for me, I was a bit like, oh okay, like fun, whatever, but like not super important to me. But yeah, like it was still really fun. It was really sweet. We follow our main character who moves from LA, I think it was. I'm pretty sure it was LA, but somewhere in America, and moves to South Korea, goes to a music school there, and it's just very much about her character, but also about these other characters and these friends and these people that she meets along the way. And it was a really good time. Yeah, I had fun with it. I'm glad I read it. And then the last book that I read in November, which I literally finished yesterday, I made sure I sat down and finished it, was Junkie. This was another reread for me, and I gave it 4 stars upon a reread. There were definitely things in here that I didn't like, that I found problematic, that I wasn't a big fan of. But overall, I had a good time. It was a very interesting take. We're very involved in this person's head. This book is about addiction, drug addiction, and the main character is an addict, or like becomes an addict. None of that spoilers, it does say on the back. And we really are just following this main character. We're in his head. We are going through the motions of many things. I remember when I read it for the first time, I was probably too young to read it, honestly. I was probably about 14, 15. But I can remember it being quite impactful. I can remember really thinking about it afterwards. I think it would be a good starting point if you've never read anything like this. I definitely think it's interesting. I think it is a bit dated, and some of the words used in there like did make me feel uncomfortable. There were some slur words used. There were a few words that I thought could be slur words, but then in the back there is a glossary to explain like what the words would have meant back then. But there were still a couple of slurs that, you know, especially towards gay men, that were used in this book that weren't in the back glossary, so I assume that they are just the slur words as we associate them today. And this is also an edited version. This came out in 2012, so I must have been 15 when I read this. I don't really think there's an excuse for it anymore. Like, the way our main character was using these words, it wasn't in the negative use of it today, but I think that the main character's words could have been changed for this edition, this reprint, this, you know, like newer version of the book, and still had the same impact. The way the main character was describing these people, like the main character is gay himself, which is why I don't understand it and I don't get it, and maybe I just am being dumb, I don't know. But basically that was the main part that made me feel uncomfortable. But I also just don't think it was as impactful a book as it was the first time round. And I think since this book came out, it originally came out in 1953, there's just been a lot more made on this in book form, but also in documentaries, movies, TV. I feel like addiction, signs of addiction, the realities of addiction are just shown a lot more than what they were when this came out. So for that reason I could only give it 4 stars. I didn't think it quite had the same impact as it would have when it first came out, but was a really decent read. And that was all the books that I read this month. As I said, super short video. I mean, I've only been filming for 13 minutes and I haven't edited it down yet and got all my ahs and sorting my books out. So there we go. That is what we're doing today. That is the November wrap up. I'm really hoping for some really good books to read in December. I didn't mention the last 2 books that I talked about, XOXO and Junkie. Those are both for my alphabet challenge. If I finish my current book, which I've had to move over from November, I'm halfway through a book, the only letter I will have left for my alphabet challenge during 2022 is the letter V. So if you have any short, easy to read, nice simple books, maybe that are available on Scribd or on the library, something like that, do let me know, because I would like to finish the challenge. I'm not prioritising it anymore. Like, I did give myself a few days in November to prioritise and try and read some more books, but I'm now going to have to, once I finish my current book, move on to my December TBR. But if at the end of December I've got a bit more time for reading and for getting this challenge done, then I will. So yeah, if you have any recommendations for books that begin with the letter V, please do let me know. But yeah, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Please do give it a like if you liked it. Subscribe down below if you'd like to see more content like this. And hopefully I will see you next time. Bye!